Always have a backup plan, kids. Sam, give me back my yarn. I need to make Reepicheep.
Hey, Riven? Why is your cat running away with half a mouse?
I was making Reepicheep to go to the next book we're talking about.
And Reepicheep is... Wait, you mean that weird, funny-looking talking mouse from that one movie?
If by weird you mean fearless and debonair, the leader of the talking mice and unbeatable with a sword, and the book came first.
A sword?
See, it all started when Caspian was going
Who?
to... Prince Caspian. Okay, let me start at the beginning. At the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Pevensey kids had to go back to their usual lives. And this story picks up at the end of the holidays and right before the kids take separate trains to their boarding schools. While they're sitting on a bench at the train station trying not to be miserable, something starts pushing and pinching them, and before they know what happened, they're in the forest by a beach. Clearly, school has now been postponed, so they go off exploring and discover an apple orchard and castle ruins. They all feel really weird about the place, like they should know exactly where they are. But until Susan finds a chess piece, no one puts it together. They are in the ruins of their castle of Cair While it's only been 1 year for them since leaving, clearly a lot more time has passed in Narnia. They find their way to the old treasure room, where their gifts from Father Christmas...
Yes! Not creepy old Saint Nick. Honestly, Father Christmas is so much cooler because he doesn't watch you while you're sleeping or the rest of the day. Like, seriously, what is that? Weird, probably in the
where their gifts have been waiting for hundreds of years.
Wait, hundreds? What happened?
The only thing missing was Susan's horn. So now they know where they are, but not what to do.
Are you going to answer me?
Dude, I thought I covered that before. Traveling between worlds is weird. You could be decades in Narnia, and no time passes in our world. You could be a year in our world, and decades or centuries or no time at all may have passed in Narnia. Because of things like time and erosion, Cair Paravel is now on an island, and Susan's the only one who could really swim across. As they debate what to do next, a boat appears with two men and an odd bundle. It soon becomes apparent that the bundle is a bound dwarf that the men need to toss out into the water. Susan quickly shoots at the men, who immediately ditch their task and run away. The boys bring the boat to shore. The dwarf makes himself part of the group and makes the kids breakfast of fish and apples and tells them he is a messenger from Caspian.
Which, again, is who?
Well, the kids wondered about that too, and the dwarf fills them in. See, hundreds of years after the Pevensey kids had left, Narnia was taken over by a group of humans called Telmarenes. These people forced all the Narnians into hiding. Talking animals, fauns, dwarves, all are now considered myths. But there are still a few believers yet. Caspian is the prince of the Telmarenes and is being raised by his uncle Miraz. Caspian loves stories about old Narnia, and he's absolutely thrilled when he learns that his tutor is not only part dwarf, but that all those stories were true. He began to dream of searching the woods for these creatures that all others were so afraid of. He suspected nothing.
That's not ominous at all.
In the middle of the night, Caspian was awakened by his tutor. Miraz now has a son. No, the kid had no idea his aunt was pregnant. And Caspian's life was now in danger. The tutor explained that Caspian was supposed to be king, and Miraz was a usurper. And now that Miraz had a son of his own, Caspian had to run. At first, the journey is exciting, just a boy and his horse. But then a storm hit. Caspian's horse is terrified. It bolts, and Caspian is left unconscious after falling off. He awakens in the home of three strangers: Truffle Hunter the Badger, Nickabrick the Black Dwarf, and Trumpkin the Red Dwarf. And for the record, dwarf coloring is based on their hair and beard color, not skin.
So, Sam is a red dwarf.
The three accept Caspian as their true king, though Nickabrick needs some encouragement, mostly in the form of Trumpkin threatening to sit on his head. And take the boy. Yes, boy, Caspian is way too old in the Disney movie. He is a kid. So anyway, they take the kid to meet other old Narnians. talking animals, dwarves, fauns, and centaurs, and all are invited to the War Council at the Dancing Lawn 3 days hence. Well, everyone that is except the hag and ogres that someone knew.
Could we please stop with the nightmare fuel?
The council starts off as one would expect. The bears want to eat first. The centaurs say council first. And the group of mice, led by the fearless and dapper Reepicheep, demand they forget eating and planning and just storm the castle immediately.
Have fun, boys!
In the end, it doesn't matter. Caspian's tutor arrives with terrible news. Mira's army is on the way. The Narnians flee to Aslan's How, where they could possibly defend themselves from a much larger army.
And what's a how?
How's what? At some point in the past, Narnians had covered the stone table, so now it's basically a cave system. The Narnian army stays there and tries to fight back against Mira's army. It doesn't go well. Finally, Caspian and his captains hold a council and decide to blow Susan's horn, which is magical and will bring help to whoever uses it. And here, Trumpkin says one of the coolest lines in the whole book. When Caspian mentions that Trumpkin doesn't even believe in magic or Aslan, Trumpkin responds, "No more I do, your majesty, but what's that got to do with it? You are my king. I know the difference between giving advice and taking orders. You've had my advice, now it's time for orders." Well, I think Trumpkin's pretty awesome. But anyway, they blow the horn and Trumpkin volunteers to go to Cair Paravel to find the ancient kings and queens. And then he got captured by Telmarenes and saved by the Pevensies, the very kings and queens he was looking for. So the Pevensey kids and Trumpkin decide their course to join Caspian and set off using the boat the Telmarenes abandoned. They make their way up for as far as they can and then try to cut across land, but surprise, surprise.
Surprise!
Yeah, believe it or not, landscapes change over time. They get very lost and find themselves eventually facing a gorge. Most of the group wants to go downhill to the right, but Lucy sees Aslan up and to the left. The others don't believe her and they go right. They abruptly turn around and go the other way when Peter almost gets hit in the face with the arrow. He lives, but a lot of time gets wasted. That night, Lucy wakes up and finds Aslan surrounded by dancing trees. He tells her she must wake the others and follow him. She does, but it takes some urging and a lot of encouragement from Edmund before the others follow. Aslan leads them across the gorge, slowly revealing himself to the others. Eventually, Aslan allows them to catch up and speak with him. Trumpkin, the perpetual skeptic, now has to believe in not only lions and magic, but magical lions. Poor fellow has his whole world view flipped around in an afternoon.
Good for him.
Aslan sends the dwarf and the boys onto Caspian while the girls stay with him. Aslan then summons the talking trees to reinforce his army and some folks from mythology to start the party. And maybe commit some war crimes.
Wait, what? War? Hey, I want to hear about the war crimes. Don't forget.
But we'll come back to that later. The guys head on to Caspian. When they reach the How, they hear arguing. Nickabrick has brought a hag and a werewolf to the camp with the intent of allying themselves to the dead White Witch. The Badger will have none of it. His loyalty to Aslan is too strong. When the two groups come to blows, they leave the hag, the wolf, and Nickabrick dead. And Caspian is wounded. Peter hatches a plan to challenge Miraz to a duel for the kingship. Though Miraz has the stronger army and no reason to accept the challenge, some of his own men goad him into it. Later that day, the fight begins. The two are surprisingly well matched. Miraz may be taller and stronger, but Peter is quicker and younger.
Not to mention a million times better looking.
In the end, though, it doesn't matter. Miraz trips, and while he's down, one of his own men stabs him in the back. Literally. The traitor blames the Narnians, of course, but the Telmarenes really don't need his prompting to start fighting. The battle starts in earnest, and all would have been lost for our heroes if it weren't for the trees. Telmarenes are afraid of the forest. And now the forest had come to stand against them. And honestly, I don't care who you are. It's hard to win against a mobile forest with a grudge.
That sounds terrifying, actually. Ugh. Me the heebie-jeebies.
Right? Not interested. Anywho, the Narnians with their timber allies push Mira's army back to the bridge. Well, the bridge was there yesterday. Aslan and his crew have been busy. breaking bridges, turning mean little boys into pigs, scaring off mean little girls, healing sick people, freeing animals. He even turned a guy into a tree. Basically, he was returning Narnia to what it was always supposed to be. But for Mira's army, destroying that bridge was the last straw. Their morale broke, and the Narnians won. Aslan has Peter knight Caspian, and in turn proclaims Caspian king. Shortly thereafter, Aslan sends messengers to tell all the Telmarenes that Narnia belongs to the creatures, and they would have to share. Or, the Telmarenes could meet Aslan in 5 days and be sent back to their own country. You see, the Telmarenes actually come from our world.
Come again?
Yeah, they were actually a bunch of pirates who stumbled into another world and took over. Aslan promised to send them back to where they came from before. Now, as you can imagine, the Telmarenes were pretty skeptical about the whole situation. What would stop Aslan from just eating them? So Aslan sent the Pevensies home first, so everyone could see that it was safe. Leaving Narnia wasn't easy for the kids, especially Peter and Susan, who wouldn't be returning. Edmund and Lucy would, but that's a story for another time. This story is 5 out of 5, though it could use more input from a fearless talking mouse, who, through the shenanigans of a certain feline, did not quite get finished. But I did finish a badger. Nix likes badgers.
Go Hufflepuffs! Woo! Wait, you didn't actually say much about this Reepicheep character.
Well, if I gave away everything, you'd never go read the book. See you next time.